Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. I am indeed Captain Logan, and filling in for DJ this evening is my good buddy, Connor Nielsen. Hello, Connor.
Hello, how are you doing?
Welcome, buddy. Thanks for being here on such short notice. It's so good to see you, man.
It's good to be here.
We had some false starts. This has been happening a lot lately. Hopefully we've got this nipped in the bud now. I was testing this all afternoon. I thought we were good, and then it happened again, and it's obnoxious. But I think we've got it. Whatever. We're here. Hello, everybody. I'm seeing comments now, so we should be good. Mutale says no suits today. What gives? The answer to that is everything happened real at last minute today, and I decided not to suit up because I didn't want to ask Connor to put on a suit an hour before the show. I guess I could have, but he was so cool to fill in at such last minute. DJ had to cancel on me real late in the day today. Well, I mean, I say late in the day. It was 2 minutes before I contacted Connor. He had something come up, and it was, anyway, really cool of Connor to fill in. Connor's going to be modding comments tonight, so direct everything toward Connor and put in your pre-written questions. Connor's already got a whole bunch of those. We're going to start answering stuff here real lickety-split. As always, if you want to make absolutely certain that your question or comment or topic gets addressed on the show, you can leave a super chat, and we will make sure and tackle all of those, of course. And you don't have to do that, but it helps move the train along, and we sure appreciate everybody who does or has ever done that. And we'll get to as many pre-written questions as well if you are not inclined to do that or you can't do that. Connor, you're looking very festive. We got Connor Klaus in the house.
Yeah, I am the Santa of Geekvolution. So I come this time every year to gift you all with questions.
You're gonna forever wear that moniker now. I'm like it'll be like March, and I'm gonna be calling you the Santa Claus of Geekvolution.
Yeah. On the Geeky Gentleman podcast, my sign off is the Santa. It's because of Klaus. Because Klaus is the best thing ever. It's my new Christmas tradition, and I've been doing it for 4 years now. So read Klaus is the moral of the story.
Oh, absolutely. I love Klaus. I think it is the most must read Christmas thing for comics.
For sure. All right, you ready to get into some questions?
I am. Connor's rushing me. He's just ready to get started. He's like, the thing I hate the most about the Captain Logan show is all the preamble. And now that I'm here, no preamble. Just real quick before we do that, I want to mention that I'm going to be broadcasting late into the evening tonight. We are premiering the Captain Logan After Dark tonight, which is going to be a solo show for just Patreon. And hopefully the unlisted link ends up working. But that is the plan this evening. And if you want to stick around and keep hanging out with me after the regular Captain Logan show, we're going to be doing an after show. And Connor, I'm going to be planning out that show a lot more than I do this show. The show that I'm only doing for the patrons is going to be one of the most planned out things that I do. It's got a lot of segments. It's going to be a little bit like the old Comic Book Late Night or the old Geekvolution Tonight, but a little sillier, a little goofier. It's gonna be uncensored. The swearing could happen. Talking about stuff that we wouldn't usually talk about the show on the regular channel is absolutely going to happen. I have a whole segment about things that make me uncomfortable. So if you are so inclined and want to pop in there and you're not already a patron, it's just $2 a month to have access to that. If this goes well, I'm going to be doing that show at least twice a month, and I am going to be doing it live, but of course you'll also have access to the show after the fact if you're a patron. And this is what I'm doing. I mentioned this on the impromptu show I did last week. This is what I'm going to be doing to replace Geekvolution After Dark with Eric eventually down the road when he ends up having to move away. Right now, he's not sure when that's happening. We actually just shot an After Dark last night that we're going to be posting later in the week. So, probably in the weekend or the beginning of next week, actually. So you're not losing Eric on After Dark yet. It's basically going to be a bonus also After Dark show, just with me and occasionally some other folks that'll pop in. Brandon's going to hang out with me this evening, and but I wanted to make sure that if that show didn't happen as often as it used to, that the patrons still got some cool stuff and something like After Dark. I'm going to try to make that as cool as humanly possible. So please consider coming in and hanging out with me. I'm really excited about that show, and I got some fun nutso things in store for you. We'll see how cringeworthy some of it ends up being. Anyway, Connor, let's go ahead and jump right into things, shall we? Go right ahead, sir.
Let's do this. Our first question comes from another chat. That is not this one. It's from an alternate reality chat. It says, from Blue Dragon 5, Cap, what would your original take on the Joker be if you were to write the character?
Man, I mean, and there's been so many takes on that character at this point, it's really hard to just on the spot be like, what's a really original thing that nobody's done with it at all yet? Connor, do you immediately have a thing where like for years you've been like, if I could write this character, this is what I would do with it?
Not really. When I was younger, I wanted to be an actor, and my dream role was to play the Joker, and that was like before Dark Knight. That was like the only. I actually had this VHS tape of Batman '89.
Wow, that's pretty beat up.
Yeah.
I've still got mine going that far back, and it doesn't look like that. That's great.
Well, that survived my childhood, so.
Well, so did mine, but it doesn't look like that.
Well.
Yeah. Now my Ninja Turtles one does kind of look like that.
But I don't know when that. I think that just appeared one day when I was a child. Like that was one of those things that my parents had, and I don't know. But no, I loved the Joker when I was a kid, and I wanted to play the Joker, but I wanted to play like the traditional Joker, where he is all white and he wears like the purple suit, and he kind of looks kind of like a 1940s mobster, but he kind of has like a purple and green scheme going on.
Yeah.
I like my Joker classic, and so far, like, we've done a lot of trying to subvert Joker in the last like 10-15 years.
Yeah.
So if I were to take a turn on the Joker, I'd kind of go back to classic Joker.
Do something back to basics. Okay, so here's my pitch. I thought of this while Connor was talking about classic Joker, and it would be nice to get. I'm with you to get more of that, and where we don't have to deconstruct the character all the time. But if DC hired me to write the Joker, they would probably say, okay, you got to make it really deep and deconstruct it, right? So
yeah.
What I would do is I would have the Joker be so obsessed with the yin-yang thing with Joker and Batman and with his dichotomy with that character that maybe what I do is a story where he thinks Batman is dead, where Batman once again is gone and nobody can find him, and he decides that he can't live without Batman, so he decides he's going to be both Batman and the Joker, and some nights he goes and does Joker stuff, and some nights he goes and does Batman stuff, and he dresses up in the half Batman, half Joker suit that Prince wears in the Batman video.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
That's what I would do.
And
so each night, whatever he's doing, he would just like switch his profile.
And you know how like old YouTube, you'd have like one person playing multiple characters, but they just jump cut around it. You could have a lot of fun with that, and like Joker dressed up as Batman and Joker.
Yeah.
And he's like punching the air, and then it'll cut to a reaction shot of him getting, oh no.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh, okay, so it wouldn't necessarily be night by night, like it would be like a multiple personality issue. Maybe he would go crazy in a different way, and when Batman leaves, he decides he is Batman, and he thinks he has Batman's personality in him, so he's basically Two-Face also.
Ooh, that could be fun. What if it starts off as night by night, and then it just kind of becomes quicker and quicker?
Yeah, it just deteriorates as it goes along, and it gets to the point where we find out that Joker is actually really good at being Batman. Maybe he doesn't start with the double suit. Maybe he actually dresses as Batman, and people think he's actually Batman. I don't know how you do that with the white face, but like he actually convinces people that he's Batman. And then when they find out that he's the Joker, they're terrified because it's like, well, we came to like rely on you and appreciate all these people you've saved, but you also are this mass murderer.
Yeah, and
there's
like,
totally a story there, dude.
Yeah, well, like, and what if like he's like, it's a bit of a commentary on Batman where like he's almost like playing a parody of Batman.
Yeah,
but he's also better at being Batman than Batman.
But also maybe gets to the point where he forgets to parody and he gets swept up in it.
Yeah, I like this. I like where this is going. There's a story here.
There's totally a story here. Okay, anyway, let's move on. What is our next question, Connor? I saw a super chat in there.
We got one super chat from Mr. Roboto for $2. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thanks,
Roboto.
Man.
He says, Connor, you can play the Condiment King as he's epic. And yeah. I think I could do Condiment King.
He's scraping the bottom of the barrel and looking for a villain that's never been portrayed on screen that you still could play.
Well, I mean, he was in the Lego Batman movie, so
That's
I got some
true.
big shoes to fill, but I think I can do it. I think I can do the character justice. I'll really read into the character. I'll open up many comics, pour through them, and get into the psychology of Condiment King. That's kind of how I'm gonna get into character, and I do need to like think like what's his psychology, Cap? Like if you had to break down the way he sees the world, how do you break down the Condiment King?
I think Condiment King was a failed hamburger flipper at a burger place, right? And it was like his dream job. Like everybody else that worked there hated it, but he loved, going to work at the fast food place. But he was terrible at it, and he got like mustard and ketchup all over the place.
It's like he
And
got star-studded. Like, don't meet your heroes. Don't meet your dream burger place. Okay, so
yeah, exactly.
I live in the Pacific Northwest, and we have Burgerville up here.
I've never
And I
heard of
guess
that.
it's only up in the Northwest. What if I come from, say, Iowa, and I'm just dreaming of moving to the Northwest so I can work. I mean, Condiment King can dream of working at Burgerville, and he finally makes it, and he sucks at it so hard, and I end up falling into a vat of frying French fry oil, and then I become the Condiment King.
Immersed yourself in the character so much that you've forgotten where Connor begins and Condiment
Exactly.
King ends.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got, man?
All right, going back to the live
We got to
chat
do like
question.
Condiment King versus the Welder, I think.
Ooh, I think the welder should have like a fire-inspired cape where it just kind of like goes like that. It goes like that down, like a night owl cape, except it's like a flame.
Have you been thinking about this? Is this something that you've been wanting to bring up ever since the Welder happened, and you just haven't been able to mention it anywhere?
Perhaps. So, our next question comes from Mutale. Mutale. He says,
Yeah, nobody knows how to pronounce his last name, and we all are trying really hard not to screw it up, so we just don't say it.
he was the first to ask the question regarding what do you guys think of the Black Widow trailer and the No Time to Die trailer?
I think they both look great, and I think if those movies end up being really good, and if The King's Man ends up being really good, next year is going to be known as the year of the spy thriller. It's crazy. We've got 3 decent-looking spy thrillers coming out. Now, I don't really care anything about King's Men, really, but if that ends up being reviewed well and those other 2 movies are good, it's going to be a big year for spy thrillers. But yeah, I didn't really care that much about Black Widow until I saw the trailer, and now I'm kind of stoked for it. It looks really good. It looks like Winter Soldier tone, and I'm excited that it's actually got bad guy costumes. That's really cool. And with Bond, it looks like we're kind of going back to basics a little bit, and it looks like it's taking all the right lessons from Skyfall. Like it's not trying to be like too big and grand, but it's still got Blofeld, and I'm glad we brought that actor back, and I want to see that done better. And he gave an okay performance, and he was the right actor for that role, but that movie was just kind of a mess. So I'm glad we got him, but it feels like Skyfall's tone, but a little bit, trimmed down, and I don't know. They both look really good, I think.
Yeah, and the spy genre's had a little bit of primer the last few years with
That's
the
true.
last 2 Mission Impossible movies were awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Yes, so my read on Black Widow is I kind of have the inverse of your thoughts, where I actually got less excited from this trailer.
Oh no. Okay.
And I'll tell you why. It's more of a concept thing, and I'm sure now that I know what the concept for the movie is, I'll go in with like.
Did you just not want it to be all in Russia?
No, that's not the thing. The whole point of Black Widow that we've had so far is that she is a part of a team and all that. And now it's like, I can't wait to see her go on a solo adventure, except it's not a solo adventure. She's going to be on another team, only it's her literal family.
That's
I'm like,
totally fair. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
So I think David Harbour looks great. I really like Florence Pugh. She plays the sister character. She was in Midsummer, which I wasn't crazy about Midsummer, but she was great in it. And she was in the movie Fighting with My Family, which I missed back in February. But she's
That
really
actually
good.
looked decent. Like I kind of wanted to see that, and I just never got around to it.
Yeah, me too. So and then when it came to the No Time to Die trailer, I need to rewatch it because I work in a machine shop, and so there's a lot of loud machinery going on around me.
Sure.
And on one of my breaks, I tried watching it, and then I was like, I'm gonna watch this later, and then I never watched it later. So bearing that in mind,
Yeah.
I'm a pretty I used to be a very big Bond fan when I was a kid. I'm actually gonna binge through all the Bond movies before this one comes out. Um, but I thought it looked fine. I'm more interested in the movie in terms of who's behind it. Cary Fukunaga, is that how you pronounce his name? Fukunaga. He directed the first season of True Detective, and he was going to direct the It movies, and then he was going to bring Will Poulter on as Pennywise, and then he actually dropped out of that, and then they got Andy Muschietti. So I'm very interested in what he's going to do with this movie, but plot-wise, it just to me looks like, all right, we got James Bond. We're going to bring him back from retirement, all right? And he's got to get back into the game, which was the same plot of the last 30 minutes of Casino Royale, and it was the plot of Skyfall.
Yeah,
and it was kind of the
true.
plot of, and then I was like, okay, and yeah, you're right. It does look like more like traditional Bond, and in a way that's less gimmicky than Spectre was.
Yeah.
And I kind of like Spectre, and like, okay, look, there's two kinds of James Bond movies. There's dumb James Bond movies and there's good James Bond movies, and it was one of the better dumb James Bond movies.
See, I don't agree with that because I don't think it knew it was dumb. That's the thing.
Well, and that's kind of what made it a little fun for me. Is it when you got to the end, you're like, oh wow, it's trying to be a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
So,
but I mean, I don't know. That movie. It was kind of totally all over the place, and the story didn't make a whole lot of sense. And we know that they were rewriting it constantly, and I don't know. I think the good bad ones are kind of like unabashedly bad.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like Live and Let Die is a special kind of movie because it's so tone deaf.
Well, I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed Moonraker after all of the complaints I'd heard over the years about Moonraker. It's notorious, and a lot of people say it's the worst Bond movie, and it's not.
No, it's not the worst Bond movie.
I watched it, and yeah, there's preposterous stuff in it. Yes, there's a bunch of laser fire in the third act. It's true, but it's it's a crazy sci-fi James Bond movie, but it knows what it is. It doesn't have it's not pretending like it's any smarter or deeper than it is, but it also kind of plays it straight, which I appreciated.
And Sam Mendes is a filmmaker who has openly talked about how much he loves Christopher Nolan, and it feels like if Christopher Nolan made one of the dumb Bond movies.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing when it came to the Daniel Craig era, is it's all serious. So I'm like, this Bond's version of the really dumb one. And so I don't know. I actually don't mind going back to Spectre. I've watched the first scene from Spectre at least 20 times since I got the Blu-ray. So.
Well, that's one of the things that killed it for me, is that it's got such a good opening scene.
It's got a great opening scene.
Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
Let's move on. Let's go to the second super chat.
Yeah.
We got one from T-Edge1, $5 super chat. Thank you very much, T-Edge1. They say, what second-generation hero/villain do you feel best carries on the legacy/values of the first-generation family? Example, Damian Wayne, Stargirl, etc.
Okay, so we're not talking about legacy heroes that are better than the first hero. We're saying which ones best carry on the torch. That's interesting. The first thing that comes to mind, and this is obvious, is Dick Grayson, because it's interesting to me how during Morrison's run, Dick Grayson attempted to be as much like Bruce Wayne as he could in the Batsuit, and he had to kind of fight his own nature in order to do that. So he's in trying to uphold the same values and do whatever Bruce Wayne would do if he was still in the suit, he kind of has to put himself away. And of course, he is a different Batman. It doesn't operate exactly the same way. But I think he kind of, especially early on, attempted to. Whereas I think this is a tough question, because I think a lot of those legacy heroes kind of immediately go and do their own thing, where they're like, I'm not going to be exactly like my predecessor. And obviously, every Robin is different. I guess, although I say that, I guess probably the quintessential answer to this actually would be Tim Drake, right? Because he looks at Jason Todd and he's like, well, I'm not going to be like that, because he was kind of horrifying, and but he's also trying, I think, to be a little bit more, like Batman than like Robin, but lighter, because he's all about being like kind of the next world's greatest detective. Like I don't think he's taking, and Dick Grayson's a good detective, but I don't think Tim Drake is like taking his cues as much from Robin as he is Batman. But I don't know, like maybe a second Blue Beetle, maybe. I mean, like I don't know. It's a tough question.
I feel completely unqualified to answer that question, so I'm not going.
You're just not even gonna try. You're just not gonna do it.
Dick Grayson. Although I did like Damian Wayne in the Flash Forward chapters of Morrison's.
Me
thing.
too.
Like
that stuff's really cool.
How he's got the sweetest costume ever, and I think that I like his plight, like that inner turmoil where like he does kill. Spoilers for Batman issue number 666. He kills the one dude, and then he's like, "I let you down again, father." So he still kind of has that ongoing battle inside of him, and I like that.
I think Cassandra Cain is also a really good answer. I know I'm kind of just going to Batman stuff, but because she was, taught in the art of fighting as language, and her immediate instinct would be to kill anything that gets in her way. But she's trying to live up to Barbara Gordon, and she like really respects Barbara Gordon as a mentor, so she doesn't do that. So I don't know. I guess that would also be a good answer. So many of these are Batman things. But...
Well, I'll answer the worst one is New 52 Superman. So that's a bad one.
New 52 Superman does a really bad job of living up to himself.
New 52 Superman.
He didn't realize there was a Superman before him, but it turns out that because they're so different, we had to just literalize it.
Yeah. The difference between classic Superman and New 52 Superman is New 52 Superman says booty call, and Superman should never say that. So
no, he shouldn't. Man, I will live and die by this. The best thing Dan Jurgens did was bringing back his Superman. The worst thing he did was integrating the two.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just leave him dead. No one cares. That was not a thing anybody needed to see, I don't think. Are you with me on this? I don't think anybody needed that.
No one needed it, and I'm the sucker who paid for it. So.
See, no, we are both the suckers that paid for it, because I don't know about you, I was loving Jurgens' run until then. I mean, I'm not even saying it's great. Like, Dan Jurgens doesn't have the best writing. It's just the best Superman had been in a while, and I was enjoying it.
You're talking about, like, Superman... What was that called? Superman... Reborn or something?
No, it was just the Superman book at the beginning of Rebirth, but so Lois and Clark leads into it, and that's the shorter series that brings over the death of Superman from another universe. And
so you're talking about the final days of Superman.
Yes.
That sucked.
But like I was enjoying that his stuff up until he decided to mix the two universes. And, like, really arbitrarily, just to come up with an excuse to go back to standard Superman status quo, and it was awful.
Yeah, it was...
Yikes.
Yeah, it was. So, we have another $5 Super Chat. This one coming from Christian Ogden.
Thanks, Christian.
Thank you very much, Christian Ogden. He says, any plans to make a top 10 comic book films of the decade list?
Absolutely.
I'm currently thinking about mine and hope to share my list in the next week's show.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing that, Mr. Ogden.
Well, I can't do it. Well, let me think about that. How did I do it the first time? Did I count? Yeah, I guess 2019 would count as the end of the decade, wouldn't it? I keep thinking.
Absolutely would.
I keep thinking I have a year, but I don't have a year. Crap. I wish I'd been planning this already. Then I keep thinking I had another year. Okay,
I'm going to make my top 100 favorite movies of this decade, and I still have so many to watch before the end of this month. So. Yeah.
But to answer your question, yeah, this whole decade I've been excited about doing that, and boy, wouldn't it have been a really cool thing to cap off the 10 years of Geekvolution if I had that done by, like, December 31st or put it up for the new year? Wouldn't that have been great? I don't think I can do that in a month, but maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I don't know when that's going to come out, but next year sometime, absolutely. I'm going to have to front load that. Man, thanks for reminding me that I'm bad at math and stuff. I kept thinking I have more time. God, that sucks. But yeah, for anybody that doesn't know what he's talking about, one of the earliest rewinds was a top 10 of the decade because I started in 2009 And when we got into 2010, because I guess back then I was just smarter than I am now, I was like, oh, we've had a whole decade of superhero movies, and I just started the superhero movie show, and so I did a top 10 of the decade. This one's going to be really, really hard, because there weren't anything like as many movies, there weren't as many good ones. I went to stuff that wasn't even theatrical. I won't do that this time. Dr. Horrible made that list. And I stand by that. It's great, but I'm not going to do anything like that this time. There are too many good, big mainstream things that'll have to go in there. And I imagine I'm going to make a lot of people angry, because there are so many that people love, and there's no way that everything that deserves to be on that list will make that list. It's really hard. It's going to be really difficult to decide how much to try to limit MCU. Or if I want to just go really pure with it and say, no, these are my favorites, even if like almost half the list is MCU. I'm not expecting that to happen. I'm just saying, if it did, should I let it? It's going to be a really tough list to make.
I think you should go Heisenberg on it and make it 99.8% pure. So, yeah, a new decade calls for different contexts. I completely understand where you're coming from, but to make sure that no one gets angry at you, I'll just put down my top 3 of the decade, and so they'll be angry at me and not angry at you. So my top 3 goes Civil War is my number 3. My number 2 is X-Men Days of Future Past, and my number 1 is The Dark Knight Rises. Anyways, moving on from that, we have...
Yeah, mine won't look like that. What's crazy is we don't have any more this year, and so I could have been working on this for the last 3 weeks. Like, ever since Joker came out, I could have been working on this.
That is true.
Grr and Arg.
Is that related to Zur-En-Arr?
No, Grr Arg is... did you ever watch Buffy and Angel?
No, I didn't.
Or just any of Whedon's stuff. That's the mutant enemy logo. When you get to the end of one of his shows, there's this crude drawing of a monster that comes across and goes grr arg, and that's what I'm referencing whenever I say that.
Nice.
Because jokes are always funny when you explain them. But I'm also wondering. You guys, let me know what you think of this. If this is a good idea, I'm also wondering if I should do my top 10 worst of the decade, because there's enough this decade to do both lists. And I wouldn't have done that for the 2000s, and that'll really piss people off, but I kind of want to do it.
Yeah, go for it. I say go for it, because boy, did we have a lot of material.
Yeah, and I mean...
Between Justice League and Suicide Squad and Hellboy, you got...
That's the thing, is immediately, and like, is that list the movies that most disappointed me, or the movies that are most actually bad? Because if I'm going for like disappointment more, then like Ragnarok makes that list, and I know that'll make some people angry. But if it's just like the really bad superhero movie, like the worst, that probably doesn't make the actual worst list, right? Not when you have stuff like Glass.
Yeah,
which would.
Well, and I mean, here's what I would recommend.
And Brightburn. And it really, half that list is this year, I think. But, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what I would recommend with that list is get, like, a list of contenders for worst, and God be with you, rewatch them.
Oh,
so you
no.
absolutely know how you feel.
Boy, that is commitment I don't know if even I have, but maybe. But it would take so long to make that. But yeah, that's going to be a really tough list. I mean, like we've on average had 6 to 8 a year.
That is absolutely true.
It's going to be wild. Okay, so now I'm preoccupied. This is all I'm going to be able to think about. The entire after show, that's all I'm going to be talking about. I'm kidding. But it will be all I'm thinking about. Go ahead.
Well, we have a $10 super chat from Azim Abu Khalil.
Thanks, Azim.
Thank you very much. And he asks, what are your guys' thoughts regarding the longevity of the Star Wars franchise? I'm both inclined and disinclined to agree that, according to Red Letter Media, its narrative limitations inhibit said longevity.
So I have, with respect, because I love that channel and those guys are really insightful and very funny, I have never agreed with Mike on that. I think what he's saying there is preposterous. I think that seems to be true because of what has been done with the movies, and maybe he's right in the sense that a big studio is not likely to take the right risks, but Mike is a guy who, as he said numerous times, just hasn't gone and looked at a lot of EU stuff, and I respect that. He just wants the movies to be good, but having seen some other things where people have played in the Star Wars world, it's not like every single Star Wars story that's ever been told is stuck in a formula and hits the same beats every time. I don't think there are narrative restrictions. I certainly don't feel like so far The Mandalorian has shown those restrictions, and I'm seeing a lot of potential legs with that show. Now you could make the argument, well, yeah, if you've got a long form storytelling, it's maybe easier to do anything, but we're talking about movies, at least with the episode movies, that are supposed to be each a chapter of a larger story. So you're already looking at something of a long form storytelling kind of piece. I don't agree with that. I think all that has to happen is for Disney to actually take a chance on something, and for filmmakers to not feel like they have to keep going back to the well to appease everybody, and like The Mandalorian, just allow a movie to not immediately look accessible to everybody, and as I always say, just allow it to try to win people over who don't already love whatever the kind of thing is that you're doing. I don't know that Star Wars is as versatile, and I've said this before, as the MCU can be, but I think it could get close, and there's a bunch of different kinds of stories you can tell in Star Wars. I don't understand that point. I don't agree with that.
All right.
Do you want to weigh in on this at all, Connor?
I do not want to weigh in on Star Wars.
just at all. But just tell me, do you agree that it doesn't have to be that limited? Like,
well, the way it doesn't have to be. It doesn't. And when it comes to The Mandalorian, I was not a fan of the first episode, but I think every episode since the first has been great.
Yeah.
But let's look at The Mandalorian. That last episode, episode 4, it was going back to the same inspirations that Lucas was going back to. He was going to like Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. It's like A Bug's Life. It's you know what I mean, Magnificent Seven, Three Amigos. It's that same basic premise. And I think
it's doing it more pure than Star Wars did it. I mean, that's kind of part of what makes it fresh, but it's also episode 4. I mean, this is probably going to be a pretty long running series, and he's just getting started. Like, I'm just seeing the potential for fresh stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can, for sure. Anything's possible. But when it comes to Star Wars, I don't know. You do something like the prequels, and a lot of people don't feel like those feel like Star Wars movies, and those did do something different-ish. So
yeah, and I've heard that argument, but that's not the problem with them. That's not why they're not good.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's not why they're not good. They're not good because they didn't tell us until the third one. But the thing is, I feel like when it comes to Star Wars, what people when they have deferred from what is just kind of a traditional Star Wars thing, people have said it doesn't feel like Star Wars. So I think what that I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it's possible. I just think that the people who are making Star Wars don't want to stray from what is kind of etched in stone.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what's going on. They're trying to play it safe, and I think you have to take that risk. I think you have to allow the potential for that criticism to happen, because it's a big universe. There's a lot of different kinds of stories that you can tell there. If nobody's willing to do that, if the studio's not willing to do that, then, I mean, yeah, I don't really want to keep seeing the same thing over and over again. But that's either a lacking in imagination problem or a not allowing people to use their imagination problem before it's, well, Star Wars just doesn't have legs. And I might agree with Mike on that if I had never looked at any EU stuff. I mean, I would probably be saying the same thing. But then I read Star Wars Legacy, and I'm like, no, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. So, yeah.
Right. All right. 1 second. I'm in the middle of copy pasting.
Sure.
Something. I'm very high tech over here.
He's got a very complicated job.
So our next question is a $4.99 super chat from Bag Studios. Thank you very much, Bag Studios.
Thanks, Bag.
Okay.
I call him Bag.
Reading your best, Captain Logan. All right, it's time to move on to rants. Captain Logan, what do you have us today, sir?
Oh, I got a rant now? Okay, well, yeah. I have a rant actually pre-set up, but it's for the after show. It's for the Patreon show, so I can't waste it here.
How about I give you a rant?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure. So wait, are you gonna pitch me a rant I have to do, or are you gonna actually do a rant?
I'll pitch you a rant. You do it. You
Oh.
just pick it up. Go for it.
Okay, go ahead.
People who don't use their blinkers when they're driving.
So you know what really pisses me off?
What?
Well, people who don't use their blinkers when they're driving, it drives me nuts. So like you're going down the street and there's a person that's like in your lane and he's just like sitting there, and you get behind him and you think he is not gonna go anywhere, and so you try to swerve around him, or you try and get on the shoulder, you try to figure something out, and then eventually he moves, and then you're like, okay, well, you could have told me that at any time. Worse than that is when somebody is sitting like in a parking lot, and you want to get into that parking lot, but you don't think that they're coming your way. You think they're going to go someplace else, and then you find out that that whole time they were going to come your way. It's just the worst. Like, blinkers are important. It's not just because of the law. It's for, like, safety and stuff. But also, it's just really inconvenient. Because, like, that's the only way you can communicate. It's not like we're all driving around with megaphones. Like, hey, get out of the way! You know, it's the only way that you can communicate. Did this happen to you today?
Yeah, I live in Gresham, Oregon, and it's a common thing amongst my friends. Once they arrive in Gresham, Oregon, people stop driving like they're supposed to.
I thought you were going to say your friends. This is the problem with your friends. Connor's ran as my friends don't signal.
No, I try to have friends who can drive. So, yeah, I mean, every day in the morning when I go and to work.
What do you think is the worst you didn't use your blinker situation? Because there's actually a lot of different scenarios where this comes up and becomes a problem.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because Gangster Venom just said in the comments that when people start turning and then put on their blinker, it's like,
yeah,
get out of here. No.
Or people who do it simultaneously as if the blinker is what makes you move. It wasn't to tell me anything. It was just, oh, my hand is supposed to go here when I'm making this motion.
Yeah, it's very annoying, for sure. We got a lot of super chats to get through.
Okay, well, let's do another pre-written real quick so we're not shafting those, and then get back to super chats if we can.
You are absolutely right. So
okay, look, Blue Dragon 5, I agree, it was a dad rant, but it was Connor's dad rant. Okay, so
yeah, I'm a dad in a 24-year-old's body. So
well, there are dads in 24-year-olds' bodies.
You are absolutely right.
You know,
I'm not a dad, but I'm kind of a dad, but I'm not really a dad.
Let's see. When my dad was 24, I would have been already 4, because my dad and I, Dad got married at 17, and my mom was pregnant when he was 19. And my dad and I, it's really easy to remember my dad's age because my dad and I have exactly 20 years between each other. I've always really appreciated that my parents are so close to me in age, because they're likely to be around for the majority of my lifetime.
Yeah, my dad is exactly 30 years older than I am. So
okay, yeah. It's nice to have a nice even number like that, because it's always hard to remember your parents' ages. Like, I always get my mom's age wrong. I never remember exactly how old she is.
Yeah. That's the same with my own. She's born in 67, I think, but I have to remember when it's 67. But anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, Blue Dragon 5 asks, Cap.
Hey!
What would your original... Oh, I already asked this question. We already asked that one. Okay.
He's like, I need a better answer, okay? Your answer was crappy, and I need a better one. Go.
No, we had a great pitch for the Joker. All right, I'd put that up against.
Yeah, and it was our pitch. I think we both own that now.
Yeah. Licensed, copyright, trademark, Geekvolution 2019.
I mean,
so Kellen O'Rourke asks,
the Joker, but
do you think the role of Alfred is a little below Andy Serkis standards right now?
Below his standards? In what way?
I don't know. Because I guess Andy Serkis is like in directing right now. He's like been really breaking the mold when it comes to performance capture performances.
So is the idea that the character itself is somehow too lowbrow for the caliber of that actor, or that he shouldn't be doing supporting roles that small?
I think like let's say both, because I disagree on both accounts.
I do too.
Michael Caine and Jeremy Irons play this role. So
yeah. Yeah, like if you're just saying it's time for Andy Serkis to get a leading role, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, and it would like a leading role where he's not wearing a capture suit. Yeah, I mean I would like to see that, but I don't think that it's below his standards or anything. And also,
No, certainly not.
we got to see exactly what kind of movie they're making and how involved Alfred's going to be and just how sophisticated the story is. But I mean, he played Claw, I didn't feel like that was beneath him or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he is decent casting. Although I would have liked to have seen Jeremy Irons have something to do.
Well, yeah, me too. But and I've heard people say like that's the one actor they should have kept, and I resist that so hard. Like when you're gonna do a period piece and do a completely different thing tonally, you need to recast everybody. I would have even done that from. And I realize these are technically supposed to be in the same continuity, but really only because Tim Burton's name was still on it and Warner Brothers just wanted to make more Batman stuff. I think we should have recast everybody from Returns to Forever because it was so tonally different, and we changed the theme even. Like the look of the city is completely different. We have a Batman that doesn't seem as closed off to human beings as the first one. It's more of a traditional Batman. Like, even if they want to say that Returns in Forever are in the same continuity, which I've never been able to completely get my head around, you don't use the same Gordon. That's the place to finally do a comic book Gordon. And like I would have hated to lose, Alfred Goff, but or not Alfred Goff. I always do that. Michael Goff, because Alfred Goff made Smallville. But I would have liked to have. I mean, I would hate to lose him, but I think they should have recast everybody in that movie. It's too much of a different thing.
All right. Let's see. We have had several people asking how we are feeling about Watchmen. Have you continued to watch Watchmen?
Have you?
I have not. I've actually been rereading Watchmen so that I can watch the show.
Yeah.
But my brother's been watching it and he loves it and he thinks I would love it because
I'm so wrapped up in it, man. I'm really intrigued by that whole thing, and I think it could go sideways at some point. Episode 7 gave us a whole bunch of. So to answer the question, yeah. So I have been keeping up with it week to week. I haven't had the time to watch every episode twice like I want to because it's so dense and there's so much. Like foreshadowing and symbolism and stuff to pick up on that's hard to do in one in one view. What?
You said it's so dense. And then you pause and it's got so many things going on in every frame. Is that what you're gonna say?
That's what I was thinking. I have to be really careful not to accidentally say that. But it is what is it with Ricks? But yeah, but it is. It's not that it's got so much going on in frames. It's just that it's really good world building and it does now I'm distracted by that. It does a really good.
It's got a lot going on in its frame of mind.
It does a really good job of adding to that universe and remembering everything that happened in that and deep pulls and stuff that I forgot all about. The President Redford thing is a thing I didn't even know about, that he was running, and there's a little reference to that somewhere in the book, and that's why they made him president. I wonder how Robert Redford himself actually feels about that, because he's kind of made the liberal counterpart to Nixon, and a bunch of things have gone wrong because somebody as liberal as Nixon was conservative took over, and I wonder how Robert Redford feels about that. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, episode 7 had a lot of major reveals, and particularly a big thing having to do with Dr. Manhattan, and it's so far, I think, absolutely amazing. I love it, but I think it could not stick the landing, so I guess we'll have to see ultimately. I get why it's not for a lot of people, and it's not, I don't know, I guess tone is not the right way to put it, but just some of the vulgarity of that show is not my cup of tea, but then the same was true of Watchmen as well. So I don't want to I don't want to criticize it for that too much. It's really easy to say, well, this is a really cynical show. But Watchmen was a cynical piece, that's kind of thing. So, a lot of people have dinged it for seeming to be too preachy about racial issues and stuff. I don't think it is. I think you have to really keep an open mind and look at it and see what it's doing with that. I think a lot of people jumped the gun on that because that's in so much stuff right now, and racial tensions in the country are so high and stuff, that like, if anything starts dealing with those issues, of course it must be coming down on one side or the other on it and telling you how you're supposed to feel and think. And I don't think the show is doing that. I think it's just taking a really like sharp look at it. But some people just don't want to see that in their fiction right now. And I understand that, but it's Watchmen. It's going to deal with whatever the big hot button topics of the day are. And sure. So, so far I have not, that has not repelled me from looking at it. A lot of those characters are starting to get really, really interesting. At first, my biggest complaint about the show is that it doesn't do enough to make me want to keep watching at the beginning, just besides really interesting world building stuff. So like, I didn't know why I was supposed to care about Sister Night completely until this last episode. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a problem. We're 7 episodes into what I think is only going to be, what, a 9-episode season is what I read. And now I care about her, but it took a little too long. Lori didn't have that problem, but then they had the benefit of that being a pre-established character. But like, she gets an entire episode introduction, and it's still, I think, my favorite episode of that show, although this last one did some really interesting things. But yeah, I'm real wrapped up in it. I think it's as good as a Watchmen sequel could possibly be.
Well, sweet. I hear episode 6 is really great. My brother's just been trying to get me to watch the 6th episode, and without getting anything being said, he said, you really like the Minutemen era of the Watchmen universe, and that's why I would love the 6th episode, I guess. So unless you didn't like some of the ways that they, I don't want to say retcon things, but like add to that mythology. I don't know how you'll feel about that, but a lot of that hinges very much on the Minutemen. I love the Minutemen, and if you guys haven't read before Watchmen Minutemen, I would highly recommend reading it because it's great. Darwin Cook was the man.
Well, I think importantly, and I never finished it, but I really liked the first 2 issues. From what I read, because I didn't, or maybe I read the first 3 actually. I think it's, what is it, 6 or is it 4? Some of those were 6.
6.
Yeah, I read half of that. Connor is right, at least of what I read of it. It was really good, but it's the only good one, or at least it's the only like really solid one. Some of the others are okay. Rorschach's awful.
Silk Spectre is really good.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't read that one.
It's goofy, but it's goofy in the right ways. And Amanda Connor's art is absolutely stellar. But Rorschach is so bad it's good. I would highly recommend reading Rorschach because I laughed my butt off when I read it.
I guess I wanted quality. I was looking for something other than his voice for, what is that, Azzarello? His voice for Rorschach is really weird.
It's a parody of Rorschach. Like, it's so bad.
And I don't think he did that on purpose either.
No, he didn't. That's what makes it funny.
And I don't know. I love Azzarello. I expected more from him. That hurts my feelings.
So I love his run on Wonder Woman, and that was happening while he was writing Wonder Woman. So I was so pumped to read his Rorschach, and it was that, and what's great.
I mean, the art's pretty, but just like you'd expect.
Like, Lee Bermejo did the art, and he's like this prestige artist, and so it was like watching a movie where they got Roger Deakins to direct like Resident Evil or something. It's so funny.
Well, and those two together are always good, except for that.
Yeah, it's like this
right?
great blip. Yeah,
because their Lex Luthor is the best Lex Luthor thing that's ever come out.
And I have not read that.
So. Oh, you got it. It's so good. I when I met him, I taught him about Lex Luthor for about 5 minutes, and it hurt my feelings that I couldn't find my copy to have him sign. I had to have him sign something else because I couldn't find it.
Now, is it true he's a curmudgeon?
He gives off that air until you start talking to him, and if he likes you, he doesn't come off that way. Like, he and I hit it off okay, and he's, I wouldn't say curmudgeon so much as just kind of, like, soft-spoken and maybe a little bit antisocial. Like, he's not looking for a conversation, but if you strike one up with him and he likes you, you'd never think curmudgeon. You would just think introvert. You know?
Okay, you know it's interesting because I've noticed that most comic book writers are shyer and introverted and soft-spoken,
Yeah.
except for Kelly Sue DeConnick. But most artists are very extroverted and are really like good at public speaking and talking and stuff.
Well, you're right. There are a bunch of writers I could name that aren't that way, but you're right. The majority are.
Yeah.
But like, I would also throw out guys like JMS isn't that way. He likes to talk.
Brian Michael Bendis.
Bendis likes to talk. Bendis likes to talk a lot. Yeah,
Yes.
He does a lot of interviews.
And he likes to talk through his comic books too.
That's true.
So can I let's
Peter David obviously is constantly talking. Yeah.
You want me to get back to some of these super chats?
Yes, let's do that. How many more do we have?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more.
Let's knock them down. Here we go.
All right. Execution Brian gave us $2.
It's a new
Thank you
name.
very much.
Thanks for being here,
Brian.
man. Yeah.
What is a film that you initially hated but grew to love?
Oh man, on the spot. That's always tough. I bet you got one at the ready.
Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
When I saw that in the theater, I hated it, and then I watched it a second and third time because I had rented that and I was still living with my parents at the time, or my parents are divorced, so I watched it with my dad and stepmom, and they really liked it, and then I watched it with my mom and stepdad, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good, and now it's in my top 5 MCU movies. I think it's great. And
it took me a while to really warm up to it. I liked it okay on first viewing, but it didn't like blow my mind. But I didn't understand all the backlash with it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought it was obnoxious when I first watched it, and also like I was kind of going through like Tony Stark. I was what's the like surplus? What's the term?
You were just done with that. It was just oversaturated.
It was one of those things where everyone loved him. The Avengers had just come out. Everyone's always quoting him. I'm always seeing his stupid face everywhere. I'm just tired of him. And then I have to, you know what I mean? And so then it's like, great, now I have an Iron Man movie and it's just him doing this thing, and I was so sick of it. And I was also a senior in high school, so I thought I knew what was up, and I'm like, no, I really get what's going on. He's overrated, bro. And then no, he's really great in that movie. And it's especially beneficial watching that in MCU marathons because boy, oh boy, does it not feel like another MCU movie. And is that like when you're doing like a marathon, is that a good thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple people are bringing up Hellboy. I did have that with Hellboy. I had forgotten about that, but I've talked about that before. But when I first saw that, I didn't appreciate it, and I fell asleep in the theater because I didn't like it. I was bored, and never got around to watching it again until the rewind. And I was really surprised by how much I liked it with the rewind. And then when Eric and I did our commentary on it recently, I didn't like it as well as I did with the rewind. So I guess I just have a completely different watch of Hellboy every time I see that movie. I'm trying to think of, because I have this a lot the other way, right? I have a lot of stuff where the first time I see it, I think it's great, and then it drops in quality the more I see it. I had that with Star Trek Into Darkness. Never go back and listen to my initial review on that. I don't agree with anything I said. Or very much. And then I had that with Man of Steel. Like there's a lot of stuff that I had that, first viewing, I liked a lot, and then it's not as good later. But going the other way, I think I had that a lot when I was a kid more. And more movies that I just like didn't get or didn't appreciate but didn't hate and just could not just didn't appreciate their brilliance until later. And I think a lot of my favorite movies are movies that are like that would not have made my even top 50 ever list when I first saw them, and I saw them again and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I had that with Fight Club, I had that with RoboCop, but none of these were movies that I hated.
Yeah, no, I get that. I guess when it comes to like I was more indifference towards that.
Yeah.
I grew to love. That's actually for me, It's a Wonderful Life. When I was a high schooler, I was like, yeah,
and that movie hit me sideways when I finally saw it, and I loved it immediately.
I saw that in high school, and I was like, yeah, it was fine. I like Jimmy Stewart, kind of boring, whatever. And then I saw it last year around Christmas time, on Christmas Day, and when you live life and you have experiences like. That movie does hit you sideways, and
it's not going to resonate with you as much until like you're gonna relate with that character as an adult in a way you're not when you're 12.
And it's one of those things where I was watching it, and there's the point where he gets married to his wife, and I actually started crying during the part where he comes back home, and they have like the places up.
That's where I teared up too. Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, this is brilliant. And then like there's a point like the last act of the movie, I'm like, I can't relate to this, but I know someday I will.
Yeah,
and so I have incentive to go and revisit it. later in life. So yeah, it's fantastic.
And I think it also impressed me because of how old it is, and that it remains as poignant, but just as good of a watch as it is. Like, there's not a lot of better movies than that. And it's decades and decades old. Yeah, Miracle on 34th Street is also that way.
And I've never seen Miracle on 34th Street.
Somebody made me do that for a rewind, and I really enjoyed writing about that. Alex Barron says Dr. Strangelove. I did kind of have that with Dr. Strangelove. I watched that in high school, and I thought bits of it were funny, but I thought it was too slow, and I was kind of bored with it. And I got that War Drums soundtrack stuck in my head, and that really irritated me. But then I watched it with Eric, and we were 20 minutes into that movie going, yeah, I still don't get why this movie is such a big deal to people. And then when we finished, we were like, no, this is great. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a great answer to that question. I'm sure something's going to hit me right after the show.
My big one's Iron Man 3. And I'm looking back, like, a lot of movies I don't have a chance to revisit because, like, I watched so many freaking movies in 2016. I watched 180 movies from 2016, and I didn't have really any time to rewatch any of them that I hated. Well, I rewatched Suicide Squad just to make sure I did hate it, and I really absolutely did hate it. So the next super chat comes to us from John Ty. He gives us $2. Thank you very much, John Ty.
Thanks, man.
He asks, did you ever read any Vertigo books like Sandman?
You
and I have read 3 books of Why the Last Man,
which we never finished reviewing. We really should go back to that at some point. But yeah, and I think Connor, if we ever go back to that, we should just do one big massive video on the whole thing. Like, I know it's long, but I think it would be cool to have just a conversation looking at that whole thing. But I don't know if you'd be interested in doing that, but I think at some point we should maybe do that.
Well, I guess we're just planning on the spot, and feel free to say no. I might be visiting Kansas in January.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, so that would be the time to do it. Well, yeah, but I don't know if we're gonna have time on that trip, because that sounds like a couple-hour video to me. I don't know if we can do that in an hour.
You never know. I mean, me and Rasco are actually going to New York to watch Sing Street live on Broadway, so we'll be over in that area. So you never know.
Well, you were talking about it like you thought you were going to be here. I've been looking forward to that. I hope it happens.
Yeah. I'm still talking with Rasco about it, and he seems interested, but he actually hasn't said anything about it. So I'm like,
I'll harass him. I haven't talked to Rasco in a while. We still haven't done the Rocky commentary. I'll harass him. So what were we talking about?
Have you ever read any Vertigo books like Sing?
Yes. Okay. So Why the Last Man, we've read half of. I've never read any Sandman. I've always meant to. I got to do that at some point. I've read a volume or two here and there of Hellblazer, John Constantine. I've read a little bit of stray issues of I Vampire at one time, but like years ago. What else? I mean, there's some other stuff. It's just not coming to me. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like a big Vertigo book that, besides Why the Last Man, that I like, swear by. But there have been things here and there, and stuff that I just forget is Vertigo. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, they published that.
I've actually been reading through Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, which has been retroactively a Vertigo book, or it was a Vertigo book from the beginning. I don't know.
I don't think it was right away, was it?
I don't think so. I got it right here, as a matter of fact.
Was Watchmen a Vertigo book? Did Vertigo even exist back then?
No, I don't think it did, because a lot of those, like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, those got appropriated into the Vertigo imprint, but Watchmen stayed DC, probably because it was such a acclaimed series. Oh yeah, it has the DC sticker on it, so I guess this is technically thing. Yeah, this is technically Vertigo, I suppose, but
that's weird, because I always thought it was in continuity.
Yeah, they do mention stuff like, hey, what about Superman? And they're like, hey, this is a Doom Patrol book, remember, and Superman doesn't show up in these books.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Vertigo is supposed to be an imprint that is a bunch of separate continuities, and some of them intertwined, but anyway, Execution Brian just left this comment and said, thanks for answering my question. Been a fan of yours for at least 5 years. I just never make it to these live shows. Well, thanks so much for being here, man. It's really good to hear from you. Occasionally somebody will pop up and be like, it'll be a name I've never seen before, and I'm like, oh, new person, thanks for being here. They're like, yeah, actually I've been here for half the time that you've been or sometimes, no, I was here from the beginning. I just never felt the need to comment. And so, thanks for making your presence known. It's really good to meet you finally, man.
Welcome, Execution Brian. All right, Christian Ogden comes in us hot with another $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Mr. Ogden.
Thank you.
He said, did the MCU Hulk film actually flop? It made $260 million on a $150 million budget. It just doesn't seem possible that it actually turned a profit. And based on that math, I don't think it did. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a flop in the sense that, like, the actual production number is lower than how much it made, but you have to, I think what Connor's talking about is that you have to keep in mind, how much it costs to advertise these things and stuff.
And the theaters keep different percentages depending on which market it's opening in. So some international markets keep as many as 50% of the gross. And,
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was ever that high.
And but in America, I think it's 30% of the gross goes to theaters. They keep 30%. So
okay. So what Connor's saying is that in other countries, your popcorn is cheaper.
I mean, they'd have to be, right? Like,
yeah.
Dear Lord, I worked at a movie theater for 2.5 years. Like, Jesus Christ, it's insane how much we charge for popcorn.
Got a couple more super chats that just popped in. How many more do we have before that?
We have 2. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and do that $5 super chat, and then let's do a pre-written because we haven't done those in a while, and then come back to this. And if that's the end of the super chats, that'll be the end of the show because we've been going almost an hour, and I'm gonna have to set up for the Patreon after show here in a minute. So. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh, and I know there's a $20 super chat coming in, and it's about a subject I am very happy about. Anyways,
look, don't get ahead, Connor. Don't jump ahead.
What do you mean? I'm ahead on this screen.
That's true.
All right, so Genger Venom, I think I called him Gangster Venom earlier. I'm sorry. Genger Venom gives us a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Genger.
Thanks, buddy.
He asks, do you think Crisis will be better than Endgame solely in terms of fan service, as there is such a thing, and is there such a thing as too much fan service? The answer to that second question is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a case-by-case thing, and it always depends on what exactly the thing is trying to accomplish, right? So if you make a thing that is kind of just a cornball, kind of popcorn, fun, wild piece that is really just there to do fan service, and it doesn't have. It's not pretending like it's anything but what it is, then that's okay. I think there's room for some of that. It's what Ebert called good trash. I think you can have that. I think that's fine. Endgame is not exactly that. Endgame isn't that at all, really. That's a thing that has a whole bunch of fan service and is there for that partly, but it also is trying to move us and is trying to tell a story. And I get a lot of people's complaints about that. I like that movie more than some of my friends on the channel do, where the fan service thing bothers them more. But I do think that its biggest issue is not integrating those two things as well as it ought to, and being a little bit too self-referential. And the more I've thought about it and seen it, the more I think it does have that problem. I don't want to compare it to a 5-part television special because that's going to have a lot more time to do a lot more things, but it's also doing two different things, right? So the fan service that Endgame was doing was about its own continuity. There's not a bunch of comic book fan service. If there was, Eric probably would have liked it better. That movie is about kind of going back through its 11-year history and saying, look how much continuity we have, and doing all these callbacks, different moments that you remember. The CW shows have been at fault with that going all the way back to having a couple of years of history. They do that kind of thing constantly. And the sort of fan service that I'm hearing the producers of the CW shows talking about is more actual comic book fan service. They want to recreate as many moments from Crisis on Infinite Earths as humanly possible, and that could get irritating, where it's like, okay, you just forced your story to get to these places, but it didn't naturally get there. But at least the fan service it's wanting to do, the homaging it's wanting to do, is about the thing that it's trying to adapt. And if there's more of that than of, look at our amazing history, I might appreciate it for that. But so I think those are two really different things, and like, it is going to be, make no bones about it, it is absolutely their endgame, but at the same time, it's kind of doing different stuff, right? Like, it is going to get rid of at least a couple of its big major characters. It's going to be the end for some franchises, just like Endgame was. It's a big end-of-the-universe story. It's going to have a lot of time travel, although Endgame was the first time MCU did time travel, and that universe has a 4th-season show that's about time travel. But, so, like, in a lot of ways, it is its endgame, but I think, weirdly, they're not as comparable as immediately on, at first glance, it looks like they would be. So I think that's a really difficult question to answer, but we'll just have to see it and see if the fan service gets in the way. But I do think the kind of fan service there will be a little bit different than what Endgame did.
Right. And I have never watched a single CW show, so...
Oh, wow. I gotta tell you, I'm not expecting that to be smart writing or anything. I already think that in Arrow and Flash, the stuff the Monitor is doing is really convoluted, and there's a lot of contrived stuff, but that's par for the course for those shows, for the mass manipulation plots. I am weirdly stoked for that event. And maybe I shouldn't be, but, like... I've been watching, I've watched Arrow up to the most recent episode. I've been watching Flash. This is the best season for those shows in a long time. It's a lot better than it had been. And it's not great or nothing. I mean, I'm comparing it to years of not good stuff, but so my standards are very low. But I'm way more excited about it than I was before I watched those. And it just looks like there's a lot of really cool stuff they're gonna do. I'm still expecting all the characters I'm excited about to get like 6 seconds of screen time, but I'm weirdly excited about it.
Well, I'm excited for you to enjoy it. Rasco says he might watch that, even though he hasn't watched any of those shows in a while.
Yeah, I wish I could get Rasco back to talk with me about it. We used to do the events on those shows.
Okay, here's a question from Circuit Breaker, going to a pre-written question.
Yeah, thanks, man.
He says, question. All right, you're in the right place. Whatever happened to Who Reviews the Reviewers?
Okay, so Who Reviews the Reviewers fell apart because I attempted another season in a really crappy format. It didn't work, and I would love to eventually bring it back, but there are a couple of things that kind of deter me. One of them is... I was trying to do a smaller panel of judges because getting 5 people together every time was obnoxious, and I was kind of asking too much from those guys, where like those deliberations would go on for 3 hours sometimes, and it was really hard to get everybody together, and I was asking too much of them, but I was also asking too much of the contestants, because it's amazing, Connor, that we got 4 seasons out of that show and finished them all, because most seasons of that show took 9 months to record. And it was supposed to be, every couple of weeks, and it just never worked out that way because getting people to meet deadlines was difficult. Getting all the judges together was difficult. So what I attempted to do for a season 5, which we shot 1 episode of and then quit, was I tried to make it so we did a smaller panel. It was going to be me and Eric and then a guest judge each time, and I was and what we were trying to do was bring in different sets of people for each round so that more people had a chance at it, A, and B, so that people weren't committed to it for as long. And then what we were going to do is we were going to take the winners of each round and have them all face off at the end. And we did 1 round and it went okay, and the second round I just didn't have a lot of interest in. I think part of the thing too, Connor, is I don't know that there are as many people trying to get into the reviewing side of YouTube as once did. Like, I think reviewing is still really saturated. I think there's a lot of it, but I don't think there's as much casual as there once was. I don't know if I'm right about this, but the sense I get is that more people doing this now are are trying to do something more kind of polished and professional looking, and the kind of like blog style side has dropped off immensely. I don't think there's as many people that do that or that do it for a long time as did when we did your season.
Yeah, the video essay scene has definitely seen an increase in volume, and also a lot of like all markets. Once it gets big, there's a lot of bad video essays out there. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But there's a
I steer clear of a lot of that.
But actually, the person who won that one round of Who Reviews the Reviewers season 5, Just Tired, he now has a YouTube channel called Implicitly Pretentious, and turns out some pretty good work. So,
that's great, cool.
He has a lot of subscribers too. So
does he really?
Job.
I should go check on him and say something to him, because his winning video was really good, and it was really cool of him to pop in and do that. But Connor, what do you think? I mean, at some point, should we attempt to bring it back? I don't know if it makes sense now.
I mean, I'm biased. I was in the last season of Who Reviews the Reviewers. That season started almost 5 years ago.
Isn't that nuts?
Can you believe that? Yeah, that was before Freddie was born, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember Freddie was born during that season, and I don't know. Like, I met a lot of wonderful people through that. Like that Matt kid, that the Comics Kid 2099. I still do videos together on his channel. Like Rasco and I are really good friends. Like, I went to go visit him in LA because it was November 2019, and we went to go see Blade Runner in Los Angeles November 2019 because that's awesome. The kind of Blade Runner fans we are. So I don't know. I have those kinds of I don't know, I have a lot of fond, wonderful memories tied to that competition and that year in general. 2015 was just a great year for me. And so, I mean, obviously I want to see a 6th or 5th season, but at the same time, I don't know how lucrative it would be. I don't know how many people would want to be in it, so it's just a matter of,
what I would probably do is gauge the interest, and then, see if there's enough people that would commit to coming in and trying to be in it. And I mean, obviously, if you said you wanted to do it, it wouldn't get you in the show. I would still have to audition people, but I would need a good 20 or 30 people that auditioned in the first place to get a good crop of folks. But I'm with you. I miss it too, and I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that I still keep in contact with and that have been on the channel because of that. Like Who Reviews the Reviewers used to be the proving ground to bring in new blood, and now it's kind of turned into Patreon, where it's just folks I've met in Patreon chats. That's how I got DJ. That's how I met Jeffrey. So that's the closest thing to that we have now, and that's all accidental. That's just folks that want to talk with me on a month-to-month basis, and then I go, oh, that guy might be good, and then I bring somebody on. I've met some people through the creative writing group. Kareem I keep mentioning him, but you're going to see a video with him next week. I tried him out on a Comic Vault, and he's spectacular. So I've still got avenues, but not like Who Reviews the Reviewers. And yeah, I really missed that too. But I would have to gauge it. And the second thing, Connor, is I don't know how to put together a panel now. That's the hardest thing. Is I don't think it can be 5 again. I think it's got to be fewer.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's like, I'm sorry, I got distracted by the chat.
That's all right. That happens a lot.
So, I don't know. And I remember when I was on Who Reviews the Reviewers, it didn't get a whole lot of views either. Those videos got like 200 views a pop.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And so, everybody's interested in something until it actually comes out.
Yep.
That's what I've noticed. Like, think about it in terms of this way: how many people see a trailer for a movie, and then how many people actually go to see the movie on a normal basis?
That was a lot of what made it difficult for me to bring it back, because there was so little actual interest on the channel, and it's the same reason that I don't do a lot of interview videos anymore. Like, I get a lot out of it, but they never get watched much. But then, should that deter me if the channel ultimately benefits from it in bringing in folks? Like, is that worth it? Is it okay if those videos don't get a lot of views because we meet people through it? And that's where I have a tough time deciding.
Yeah, I don't know. I met a lot of wonderful people there, like Ben Thompson, and I still keep in touch.
Ben's in the SSSS, yeah.
I can't be objective
about that
at all. Like, I don't know. So, I mean, I loved Who Reviews the Reviewers, and it's a very valuable experience. And I was actually thinking about getting in touch with a lot of the people from my season and doing like a 5 years later panel and just like talking to them about,
It'd be really cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was a pre-written question. Do you want me to do another one? Because there's quite a bit of them.
Yeah, we'll do one real quick. I'm gonna have to shut down here pretty quick, but then we'll get to those other super chats. But yeah, I hate the Shaft pre-written too much, and I went on too long about the CW thing. But
It's
anyway,
fine.
go ahead.
Hold on. I want to answer one really quickly. They asked.
Sure.
They asked, "Are you guys gonna watch Knives Out?" I've already seen Knives Out. It rocks. So go see Knives Out.
I didn't have any intention of seeing it, but if you say it's good, I might try it.
It is like my third or fourth favorite movie of the year right now. Daniel Craig is. So
but I always
good.
ask this to people who know me: will I like it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
I honestly can't gauge your taste. I was happy to see Ana de Armas finally have like a big role in something. She was Joy from Blade Runner 2049. I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was funny. I was in a packed audience on Thanksgiving night with that movie, and everyone was into it. I had a total blast with it, and it's beautiful, visually speaking. So, and then also, anyways, have you seen Doctor Sleep yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I was supposed to go, and I got sick, and I couldn't go, and I haven't had a chance to see it. And Eric really wanted to talk with me about it. I just haven't gotten a chance to go.
I've seen it. I thought it was okay. I've liked about it the more I've thought about it, but I have complicated feelings on it.
Yeah, I want to see that and talk to you about it at some point.
So this one comes from Mutale. He asks, are you guys excited about Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet next year?
I don't know anything about that.
I know it's a Christopher Nolan movie, and it's got it's got John David Washington, who was in Black Klansman last year. He's the son of Denzel Washington. He's the main character. But I also know it has like Michael Caine, of course, Kenneth Branagh, and it has Robert Pattinson in it. So I'm excited. The cast has me interested, and the trailer is very minimal, but it kind of has me excited. So yeah.
Well, yeah, Mutale, what happened was health stuff. So I had a weekend where I had plans to go with Adam, and I had to cancel on him at the last minute because the kidney stone flared up. And then that next week I was too busy. I didn't have a chance to go. And the only movie I've been to recently is the Fred Rogers movie because I had to see that when it came out. That was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. And then I had my surgery right after that. And so that whole week I couldn't go to the theater. I was supposed to go see the Galaxy Quest documentary, and Brandon and Adam went to that without me, which was a bummer. And but I couldn't go because I was still recovering. And that whole day I was planning on going, and I was like, I can't sit still for more than 20 minutes at a time. There's no way I'm gonna be able to go. And so then that was last week, and this week I've been busy trying to catch up on channel stuff, so I just have not had a chance to go see it. So hopefully it's still playing in some theater, and I can maybe go sometime in the next few days. I don't know, but I would like to finally see that, because people keep saying I should go, but no one will tell me why. Like people are being really careful not to even tell me if they like it or not. Like Eric's been like that. Eric just said, I know what you'll think of it, and I don't even know if he likes it. So I don't. So
the Doctor Sleep or
no, Doctor Sleep.
Doctor
Sleep.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say
no. Galaxy Quest only went that one night, so I have to wait for it to come out on video now. But it's supposed to come out in just the next couple weeks, so I'll probably go ahead and review that before Christmas, I imagine.
I don't know. I thought Doctor Sleep was interesting. I can't actually talk about the movie, otherwise it would clue you in onto things. But I'll just say I thought it was very, very literary, and much more of a Stephen King adaptation than it was like a sequel to a Stanley Kubrick film. And it just kind of seemed to have Stanley Kubrick things in it, because it seemed like Mike Flanagan wanted to make an adaptation of Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
But Doctor Sleep just happens to be the sequel to The Shining, which was adapted into one of the greatest films ever made. And so when you make a film adaptation of Doctor Sleep, it kind of has to be a sequel to The Shining. You know what I mean?
It
So
does, unless you make The Shining first, and I know you really like that movie, and I do too to a degree, but I would have, and not having seen Doctor Sleep, I would have made another Shining first, just to make something closer to the book so that you could adapt Doctor Sleep more straight, because I know there's stuff that happens in Doctor Sleep that cannot possibly happen in that movie if it's in canon with the Stanley Kubrick movie.
Now, I have read The Shining, and
Yeah.
I have not read Doctor Sleep, so maybe there is more of Kubrick's film in this movie than I know.
Yeah.
And maybe
or less of that
is...
book than you know, because I've read part of that book,
Yeah.
and I know some stuff in that can't possibly be in a sequel to that movie.
But I do know that what's his face? I know maybe this is just maybe there's more of Mike Flanagan, like kind of a la Metropolis, being the mediator between head and heart between Kubrick and King. I don't know. I think that
that's great. By the
when
way,
it comes to Stanley Kubrick, or when it comes to Stephen Kubrick and King, are masters of their craft, and their craft could not be more different.
They're different. Yeah, exactly.
And what I love about The Shining is it is an almost entirely purely cinematic experience.
Yeah.
And I love it. And then you have Doctor Sleep, which is a very literary adaptation of a book. And it feels like reading a King book. So I liked it more than It Chapter 2, a lot more than It Chapter 2. And I think I liked it more than the first It as well. But
oh, interesting. Wow. You go that far. Cool.
I think. It has great performances. It has great performances for sure. Rebecca Ferguson rocks, because she always rocks.
Okay, we've got to knock out those last super chats real quick, because I've got to get going.
All right. T-Edge1 gives a 99-cent super chat. Thank you very much, T-Edge1.
Thanks, man.
It's a very happy face with heart for eyes. So it's like...
I would do that if I was the Mask, but like there's no chance. I can't make my eyes turn into hearts. I wish I could.
Have you seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Yes! It's a great movie.
Remember that part where Knives Chow, it is like her face turns into an emoji?
Yes!
Yeah, that's what I would want to happen.
Now you got me wanting to go back and watch that again. That's great. I haven't seen that since it was like on in a hotel room when I was almost on a reality show. That's the last time I saw that. That was like 2012. I got flown out to California for a reality show I ended up not being on, and they stick you in a hotel room for a whole weekend and don't let you come out until you go do screen tests and things. And it was really boring. And I was just flipping around, and that was the last time I saw that. I just remembered that. So it's been like 7-8 years.
I've seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World 3 times this year, which I can't. I mean, I like that movie a lot. I don't love it, but it's very watchable, and Chris Evans is super great in that movie. Anyways, Jeffrey E. Patron. Hey, Jeffrey, how you doing? He gives us a $5.
Oh, that emoji is because of the new super stickers, which I totally forgot to tell people about. But that is a thing you can do now. Instead of a super chat, you can do a small donation or do like a sticker thing. I forgot they were doing that. So that's what that was. I think that's what that was. Yeah.
So Jeffrey E. Patron gives us $5. Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
You're the man. He says, I've read
awesome.
so little Vertigo that my favorite Vertigo series was when I had a series of Dizzy Falls. I'll see myself out now. Well, I got a chuckle out of that, Jeffrey. So.
Good one.
you're okay.
And then I think it's just that $20 one, yeah?
No, we got a few after that $20.
What? Okay, all right, we'll get them knocked out.
We're cutting them. We're cutting it off, gents. You're done. Last call was a while ago. We're cutting you off. So
yeah, but then come back in 10 minutes for the new call, because I'm going to continue broadcasting through the night, and I got my good buddy Brandon. He's going to hang out with us.
New call, is that the sequel to Cheers? So Azim Abu Khalil gives us a $20 super chat.
Azim, thank you, man. You didn't have to do that. I really, really appreciate it, buddy.
He says, "Hey, Cap, without spoiling anything for your well-lit co-host, thank you very much."
He is well-lit, isn't he? Yeah.
I got a light right there.
Nice job getting that light there. Yeah, maybe a little overexposed, but no, it looks good.
I'm still working out with this setup. I'm glad it's well-lit, though.
Well, you said this is the first thing you've put on camera since you moved, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is.
This is like the 6th thing I put on camera since I moved, or something. Yeah.
He says, so anyways, without spoiling anything for your well-lit co-host, are you of the same opinion as I that the HBO Watchmen series, euphemistically, repurposed a certain character from Darwin Cook's DC New Frontier. Oh.
Ooh, I don't immediately know what you're talking about, and I'm gonna kill myself later when I find out who it is. I had not thought of that, so I'm gonna have to give it some thought, and that makes me angry because that was a $20 super chat, and I can't even help you out. I guess I can just go online and find out what people are saying about that.
And then you could send him a personal message later, maybe. Even.
You could, yeah. Anyway,
right.
Let's do another one, and I'm gonna look this up and see what people are saying about that.
Okay.
Well, maybe he only came up with it, and nobody else said that, and yeah.
So David Crabtree gives us a $5 super chat.
Thanks,
you very
David.
much, David Crabtree. He says, "Great seeing Connor tonight. Thank you very much. On a more serious note, I saw two scarecrows yelling at each other the other day. I really hate a straw man argument."
Good one. Yeah, those are the worst. They must have been on either side of the aisle, the scarecrows.
Yeah, one was, with tomatoes, the other was with potatoes. It was a disaster. So
I thought you were saying one was with tomatoes and one was with tomatoes.
Oh, that would have been better.
No, I liked yours too. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to improve your joke.
No. I'm just ashamed because I didn't think of that because that was better. National Socialist 011 gives us a £2 super chat, and they say, "Was Adolf Hitler right?" No, he wasn't.
He wasn't. But his background and ideology and where all that came from is absolutely fascinating, and people don't talk enough about his obsession with who was the composer? There's a major
Wagner.
classical
Wagner.
Yeah, it was Wagner, wasn't it? Yeah, and people don't talk enough about that. His whole obsession with the Jews and his hatred of the Jews came directly from Wagner, and also I read a book that was all about his obsession with movies and how lazy he was while he was Führer, and how he just went and hung out with celebrities all day, and like a bunch of stuff I didn't know. It's really interesting.
Have you seen Inglourious Bastards?
Oh, and also, I know that was kind of trollish, but that's how I like to answer trollish things, is by actually answering them.
Okay. Have you seen Inglourious Bastards?
I haven't. I need to see that.
That's a lot. That's like a movie about the power. It's a Quentin Tarantino movie, so there's a lot of like.
I know what it is. I just never got around to watching it.
But it's a lot about like the power of film and propaganda and what you can do with it. It's a really, really good movie. And then Ed Plays gives us a £2 super chat and says, "What is your opinion on Comicsgate? I may be late." So that question.
Yeah, I don't want to tackle that. I know it's a super chat, and I try to actually answer all the super chats, but that is too political for me to get into. I guess all I will say on that, boy, I don't know. I don't feel like I can say anything, Connor. Right? Like, I just, I don't want to accidentally get like labeled in any direction or anything. I guess I get why that happened. It is a really extreme thing. But like, I don't know what to say about that. And I also haven't looked super far into it. It got really overblown, and let me say this. Like, sometimes people will say, "I don't like that comics are so political now," and then big long-term comic readers will say, "What are you talking about? Comics have always been political." But when I say that, what I more mean is I don't like that it has become a politically divisive thing. Like, not comics dealing with politics, that's fine, although I don't want people to be preachy about it and tell me what I'm supposed to think, but like, putting your politics in a page because you want to comment on that, and that's how you're expressing yourself, is not inherently a bad thing to do. And everything is more politically volatile now, but comics got mainstream enough that people started actually caring about what was in them in the mainstream, and that's unfortunate because that used to be one of the last vestiges of like where to go for just like pure artistic thought, and that's kind of gone now. There's still some of that. There's still some of that in everything, but there's a lot of on the page. A lot of the time it feels like people are just saying what they think they're expected to be saying, and trying to prove that they're on the right side of something. And sometimes it feels a little bit propaganda-y, and I think that's part of like where the Comicsgate thing comes from, and I don't think of myself as one of those people. And again, that went too far and was overblown. But I see I see why it happened. So,
yeah. Well, I don't care what people label me. I know who I am, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think any validity Comicsgate had went out the window, and the people who were the figureheads of that embarrassed themselves and completely killed any credibility they had. So that's my opinion, and you can call me whatever you want because I don't give a crap. So I think that's it.
Cool. Awesome. We did it. Connor, thank you so much for coming at last minute like this. You were great. I appreciate you. You're always welcome, and you're a great moderator. I appreciate you, man.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course, dude. I come back soon, and hopefully it won't be a bunch of months until I see you again, like last time. We are now gonna go ahead and close, and I sound like a Baptist minister or something. Everybody, open your hymnal. No, we're gonna go ahead and close now, and come back in about 10-15 minutes or so. I'll put up a link in Patreon and let you know where to go for the premiere of Captain Logan After Dark. We're gonna get crazy. We're gonna do all kinds of silly stuff. I've got a bunch of weird, goofy segments that we're gonna do. I'm gonna sing some karaoke tonight. I got all kinds of crazy plans, and so pop in if you're so inclined. If you're not already a patron, you can watch that show live and also after the fact. For just $2 a month is how you get in there. You can just pledge it one time and come in and look at the show, and if you don't like it, you don't ever have to pledge again. But I would love to see a crowd tonight. Pop in if you're able to. If no one shows up, I will still make a show. I have this set up in such a way where I don't need a live crowd, but we will be answering some live questions if there are folks here. I have some pre-written questions from some patrons. If you're a patron at any tier, you'll be able to contribute the questions and topics to this show. I won't necessarily get to everything on this show, but I am, because I want to compile some questions. So I had one guy who gave like 4 questions. I'm going to save some of his questions. But like I said on the update video I put up yesterday, if you're a patron and you ask me something, I will answer it. I will treat those all like super chats, even if they're questions I don't like and I don't want to answer, or they're just, I don't think they're great questions. I will answer everything because you guys are helping out with the channel, and I think I should do that. So anyway, come hang out with me a little bit longer this evening if you're so inclined. And everybody else, thanks a bunch for tuning in to this show. I won't, as I've said before, I will not shaft the Captain Logan show for that show, and we went a little bit late tonight, so I think I proved that. But we will see how well this show does and how much interest there is, and that'll determine, help me begin to determine how often I'm going to do that show. I may come back and do another one next week, or I may wait 2 weeks. I've not decided yet. But we're going to try the first one tonight. It's a pilot. We're going to see how it goes. And in the meantime, I'll see everybody again next time. This was Connor Nielsen.
This was me.
Thanks
Bye.
for being here. that's what Jason always says. It was me.
It was me, James, the author of all your pain.
What is that from?
That's from Spectre.
Oh, see, I don't know that very well because I saw it one time. Anyway, I'll see you again, everybody. Next time I'm Captain Logan. This was Connor Nielsen. Later, everybody.